Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Hope you're having a fantastic day. As always, shout out to the 19. Hey, I want to do a quick video for you. We know we've got the Fever finally in action again this weekend, going back to Iowa in back-to-back games, which I have to say is really an odd way to start the preseason after an off season of a sport. So, which makes things a little more interesting, and actually, in some ways, it makes it a little more interesting for me in terms of observing Stephanie White and the decisions she makes. Because normally, you most likely in a preseason, you come into that one game, and you probably have a plan over the preseason about how much your starters play. You know, in football, it's just traditionally it's going to be the starters play less as the preseason goes on. A lot of times nowadays they play even a lot less than they did before, but they usually play less. Basketball is a little different sport. They might play less and then notch it up a little bit, so they're playing more in that final preseason game. But with back to back, that also makes it a little bit different, a little more of a challenge. So I think you have starters maybe playing, she could go less each game, or she could go a little more, not as much as you would if it was one game, but a little more the first game and then dial it back the second. I'm not sure. And of course, with the Indiana Fever and Stephanie White, you have some other issues that come into play, like one, new coach. You have uh, some a very, very different roster, right? A big, big turnover with the roster. And then on top of that, with the new coach and the roster turnover, for a lot of players, it's a new system. And it's probably not that she is learning a new system or that she doesn't know it. So don't take this the wrong way about Stephanie White. But with this team, she's clearly going to run a different system than she was running at Connecticut. So the Fever have multiple things to look at, and it'll be and on top of that, of course, we have 15 players in camp, and they can keep 11. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on that you want to see in the preseason, and it's got to start from day one, right? Because that's a lot of stuff that I just mentioned. So it's going to be interesting to see how Stephanie White juggles all of that on top of two games, back-to-back games. So I'm not sure how she's going to play that in terms of minutes. Obviously, again, going back to the roster turnover and the new system with the new coach is you need to start getting your starters, of course, but also your regular rotation players playing together to get on the same page, right? And the more they play together, the quicker that happens. I'm sure at this point, and it's going to change as the season goes, I'm sure, but going into this now, Stephanie White probably has, the 8, 9, maybe even 10 players that she feels will be part of the rotation. You're going to have to make adjustments during the season, of course, but she probably has that. So she's going to want to see these combinations, which is another thing too, is okay, what are the combinations going to be? What are the rotations? I'm sure she's got something in mind, but you may find out as you see them in real competition. It's like, oh, you know what? These players that I didn't know if they would necessarily get a lot of time on the court together have connected. They play well when they're out there together. So it's something to keep in mind. And of course, you have that back end with the Fever and the salary cap. We've talked about this previously. They're most likely, almost certainly, but most likely going to at least start the season with 11 players, not 12, and they have 15. And a lot of us already, right? We've all kind of like put our hand up and say, okay, Michaela Timpson was the steal of the draft. She should have been a first round player, really a mid and higher first round draft pick, but the Fever got her. That's that player. We already had the roster before the draft and a couple of late additions that were signed as well, like Jillian Aline. Uh, and so it looks like it's going to be Michaela Timpson, but we don't know for sure because yeah, Stephanie sees them in camps. I get it. And we've had a week of camp, but there's nothing like getting out there and playing another team. By the way, and I'm not sure if you'll see it before or after this, I did a Lucy Olson video as well, which is some of the things her coach said, and her situation. And of course, they play They play the Washington Mystics and the Brazilian national team, so probably see a little bit of Lucy Olson. So it'll also be interesting with Stephanie in terms of how much those players towards the end of the bench play. Because again, only keeping 11, that is an important decision. You might say, oh, yeah, well, that player number 11 is probably not going to play much. Who knows? Who knows how they develop? And then you talk about injuries and things like that. That is an important roster spot. And yes, she's seen them in a week of camp. Yes, she's seen them, in college or wherever they played before that, but she hasn't seen them in competition with this team. So how many minutes is she going to give those players at the back end, those, 5 players that we all think are playing for that one spot? How many minutes do we give them? And again, back-to-back games. So do they play more in one game and dial it back in the second? I'm not sure how she's gonna handle that, but that'll be interesting to see as well. So there's a lot of stuff to observe in this first 2 games that I know a lot of you probably like, you know what? I don't care. I haven't seen Caitlin Clark play since September. I just want to watch her and enjoy the basketball, which I completely get. No doubt about that. But I wanted to kind of go over what in my mind are these things that I'm looking at that are important in terms of if you're thinking about what is this team going to be? What's the style, right? We're not going to probably see a lot of minutes with the starters, I don't think. I get it. They're back in Iowa. That's going to be important. Caitlin's going to play, but would it surprise me if she played 15 minutes each game? It would not. Will she play more than that? Maybe more in one, less in a. It's possible. I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if she played 15, 20 minutes tops. And most likely that's going to be with what could be the starters, but I'll say it's at least a 7, 8, 9, 10. They'll sort of or maybe just 7, 8, 9, and they'll mix together, and then the back end will probably play. And there's the other question too. Are we going to see? Because again, we're all guessing, right? But we're guessing based on what we're observing. Are we going to see, say, Michaela Timpson in with a bunch of players that are regular rotation? Or is she just going to be in with those back end players? Are they all going to play together and see how that's handled? I think at some point, the ones that Stephanie White's looking at for that final spot will have to mix in with other players because that's only fair. You need to get a look at them with the players that they will be playing with this season and see how that works. Will that happen this weekend? Again, I'm not sure. But hey, I just went over a lot of stuff, right? It's tough to do all of that in the first 2 games, which are also back to back, which is weird. So it's kind of for me fascinating to think about these things that Stephanie has to look at in the preseason and get all of that taken care of and figure it all out and make the best decisions possible. Um, Overall, for me, I think the biggest thing, and I'm not going to get a lot of it because I'm not going to get a lot of time with the starters. I don't think though. It's just I want to see their style. I want to see how they come out and just how they play. How much are they going to run? Are they going to look to push it up tempo as often as possible? But she's probably also, again, to prepare, going to want to see, okay, well, what do we do when we have to slow it down? What are we doing in our half court? Because again, they're going to need to start running some of that stuff before the season starts. So anyway, I could go on and on and on, as I'm sure you know, on this type of stuff. But I just wanted to do a quick video on sort of, hey, these are the things that have to be taken care of, the decisions that have to be made, and the things that we might see this weekend that we definitely need to see in the preseason in order for the team to make the best decisions and we get to see rotations and who's making the team and all that good stuff. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Appreciate it. As always, smash that like button. You know the drill by now. Hit that subscribe button as well. We're getting ready to roll into another WNBA season. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate it. Go have the day you deserve, and I will talk to you later.